So I had a viewer ask me how I overcame my health-induced anxiety, and it's kind of a long story, so I wanted to break it up into a few different segments. The first being a background story of how I got where I was, how I overcame what was happening to me, and the steps I take to maintain it. Quick background, I've always been an athlete. I played 3 different sports growing up until high school. I played a little bit of college basketball, so everything I've done centered and revolved around exercise. A lot of the things that I did involved me being active. And when I was younger, you don't really notice certain things like, I don't know, your heart beating fast, or your muscles getting super sore super fast, or your brain racing a million thoughts, a million miles an hour while you're working out, to the point where you have some type of anxiety or panic attack. With that being said, I was pretty normal. I lived a normal life. I prioritized my exercise, not my diet at least, but my exercise. I did prioritize that a lot through my life. It wasn't until I was about 23 years old when I started experiencing a lot of health anxiety. So I had started nursing school, and I think that's what did it for me. Prior to that, I wasn't really a hypochondriac. I really didn't look up symptoms when I was sick or when I thought something was wrong. I never really thought much about it. If something was really bugging me, I would just go to the doctors. I would take their word for it and continue about my life. So when I was in nursing school, I remember my first ever panic attack. I was done studying for something, and I remember looking in the mirror, and it felt like I had shifted into another dimension. The way my body felt, the way the room was looking, everything looked different and felt different. And that's something I never experienced before. So right when I turned to my left, that feeling of doom hit me and flushed all of my blood down to my heart. And this made me have a really bad panic attack. I thought I was having a pulmonary embolism. I remember my dad calmed me down. It took like 2-3 hours. I was shaking, jittery. And over the course of the following year, I ended up having a lot of anxiety and panic attacks. That was sort of my life. And after I got out of nursing school, I was still having those. And during nursing school, I would work out 4 or 5 times a week, classic bodybuilding stuff, sometimes some endurance stuff, nothing crazy. After nursing school, when I got my first job, I decided to go vegan. And when I'm in something, I'm all in. I thought all of the research and the scientific data pointed to a vegan diet being the most optimal diet for human beings. So I ended up going on a vegan diet, and I was eating a lot of plants, a lot of fruits, a lot of grains, and a lot of fat. Protein was very minimal, but I was still working out. However, over the course of the next 2 years, my anxiety and my panic attacks would continue to get worse. And I believe, looking back now, this was not only caused by my previous experiences with my cortisol probably being very high and my stress being very high, but now to add on top of that, my body was not liking the vegan diet. And that's my guess, because even to this day, if I eat 300-400 grams of carbohydrates, no matter how much exercise I do, I sometimes get that feeling of panic. And especially at night when I'm going to sleep, I will get that. I remember going to the ER 2 or 3 times because I literally thought I was dying. I was having panic attacks left and right. And this continued on in a downward spiral over the course of the next 8 years. So I basically dropped exercise. Anything health related, I basically dropped. Because what was happening was I was going in an endless hamster wheel where I would try to work out, I would try to be healthy and fit, but I would continue to have these panic attacks and anxiety through the roof, and I would just be so exhausted. So I decided, hey, I don't want to die. I value my life. I feel like I'm dying. I don't know what's going on, but I know that this makes it bad and this makes it worse. So I figure I just stop that activity altogether. Looking back, I know that being active is a form of therapy, and it really can help someone's mental state and really keep the body in check, because in reality, we sort of came from that as a primitive culture. We evolved to be outside, to keep our bodies moving, and a lot of those natural processes were lost along the way. And so to completely cold turkey stop everything as far as physical activity, that definitely not only weighed on my physical health, but looking back, I know that it weighed on my mental health as well. And so that's sort of when everything started. Over the course of that time, I was still having panic attacks, but not as much. I remember one specific time when I tried to go back to the gym. I was playing basketball one-on-one, and I felt the biggest heart drop of my life. So I was experiencing a lot of palpitations when I would have my panic attacks, and I didn't know what they were. So I experienced the biggest palpitation of my life about a year after pretty much quitting activity. And after that, I was like, I'm done. That's sort of my background story. So I am 35 now. All that started to occur probably when I was about 23 to 24, and it definitely was the worst from about 25 to about 32 years old. Off and on, I would experience a lot of anxiety and panic attacks. Even after switching my diet up, I was vegan from about 25 to 28 almost. So that's where the story picks up. Around 28, I had seen this chiropractor, and he had recommended to start adding in animal foods. At this point, I was oblivious to a lot of different things. I was like, this is the truth and the only truth. Being a vegan is all that matters. It's the best for your health. I remember as I incorporated some animal foods, I started to feel a lot better. I was having less panic attacks. That brought me into the realm of keto, low carb diets, the paleo diet. And so over the course of the next 4 years, I would experiment with all of those kinds of diets. And what I concluded during that time was that diet plays a big role. Over the course of those years, I then became sort of dogmatic to lower carb diets. And it did have me feeling a lot better. But during that time, it's not like I stuck with a specific low carb diet. I would be keto for 5-6 months strict, and then boom, I would fall off and go back to the standard American diet. It's not like I stuck to one thing for 2-3 years. I was back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So that's probably why I saw benefits when I was sticking with certain things, and how it sort of disappeared when I was flip-flopping and yo-yo dieting. And that's sort of where I was at until about 32 years old. We had moved into Florida, and I got really, really sick. I had some type of GI issue going on, and basically I lost like 25 pounds in 3 weeks. I thought I was dying, and got a CT scan. Doctor checked it out. It was fine. Ended up getting COVID right after that, and I got a really bad case of COVID. And for me, even when I was unhealthy, I got sick maybe once a year. So I wasn't really accustomed to being sick. I thought I was done for. Mentally, I was breaking down. Physically, it felt like I was just washing away. Mentally, I feel like I was gonna have to be admitted to a psych facility. It was a very dark time in my life for about 6 months. And that's sort of when things changed though, because as I was healing, as I was getting better, I thought to myself, we really don't know when we're going to go. We don't know when we're gonna die. Why am I living like I am some type of scared little boy that can't overcome his fears, or that can't fix the issue that's in front of me? Why can't I, as a man, overcome this? And I only live once. That's sort of when the tide started shifting for me, and my mentality started to change to more positive thinking, even though it was very hard, and it's still very hard to do, but I would try to be more positive about myself. That's when I said, okay, I need to do something. Like, I lost all that weight, I ballooned up. I was gaining weight like a freaking cow, man. That's when I sort of blew up to 246. I did suffer from a lot of long COVID symptoms, had POTS, I had urine frequency, like I was peeing every 2 hours. I could not sleep. Once I woke, I slept around 10 o'clock every night, and once I woke up at 2, I was wide awake. I could not sleep at all. And this went on for about 6 months. That summer of me being, I think I was turning 32, I decided to join a CrossFit class, and that would be probably the best decision that I've ever made, because one, CrossFit is tough. It is very physically demanding. It is intense. You have to be strong, both physically and mentally. You got to be able to push yourself. And in my mind, I thought, if anything's going to kill me physically, this is what's going to kill me. That's when I joined the CrossFit class. I did it 3 days a week, and I did it from about July to October. And again, probably the best decision I made, because mentally that freed me. I went to prove to myself that I could do it. And what did I do? I proved to myself that I could complete that, which opened up other possibilities. I ended up getting in with a local basketball pickup league. I was able to play full games without feeling like I was dying or without heart palpitations. So I played once a week. I did that. I did CrossFit. And then we ended up moving to a different city, so I stopped the CrossFit, but I did continue playing basketball. During this whole time, my mindset and my worldview started to shift. How I overcame my health anxiety. Now, I'm no doctor. This is completely my own experience, my N1, and my anecdotal evidence that for me, it was a big mental hurdle. For example, let me give you something practical that I did a lot when I was just starting out to overcome my health-induced anxiety. Going to work out or going to run or do whatever, I would feel my heart just beat and feel like it was gonna beat out my chest, and this scared me to death. I'm like, here we go again, and that spiraled me into anxiety, panic. But what I thought about was my heart beating. And what is the heart's function? The heart's function is to pump blood to different organs so that they can continue to basically live on, supply oxygen, CO2 is recycled, oxygen's delivered, and the faster that heart beats during an exercise or during something strenuous, the more blood and oxygen is being pumped to your other organs, muscle tissue, everything like that. It's probably the biggest thing that I did when I first started off is my body's doing what it's supposed to do. This is what is supposed to happen. So that really helped me in the beginning, and still to this day, as sometimes I'll say that to myself, not as often as I used to. I used to say it pretty much every day. As long as there was no pain, this is what I continue to tell myself. If you are experiencing pain with some type of physical or strenuous activity that won't go away, that's something that you should probably get checked out. Another thing that I did to overcome my health-induced anxiety is to break past any mental barriers. So anything that I thought was holding me back and preventing me from going forward, I sort of broke past that. How did I break past those mental barriers? And what I did was I would talk to myself a lot. I played a lot of healing frequencies, and I really believe in these different kind of modes of healing. And what I would do is go on to YouTube and play a healing frequency. And when that healing frequency was playing, I would do it 2-3 times a day. I would continue to repeat in my mind and just be kind to my body. You're healing, you're okay, your body is doing what it's supposed to do. So again, talking to myself in that way and playing healing frequencies is something that was huge for me to overcome my health-induced anxiety. And the third and final thing that I did to overcome my health-induced anxiety was I hate to say it, it's super cliche, but I had to man up. I had to face my fears. If I never got sick enough to the point where I thought that I would probably still be cowering in my anxiety and my panic attacks. I really had to face my fears. I know, like, when I was suffering from anxiety and panic attacks, if someone told me that, I would just be like, you don't understand, you don't know what's going on, you don't know how I feel. Those are the things I would say. But in reality, that's what we have to do. Whatever it may be, you could do it slow, you could do it fast like me, you could, just go at your own pace to overcome it, but you do have to take steps to overcome what's holding you back. If you're not doing that, then you are gonna be stuck in a hamster wheel. You're gonna be stuck in something that's never going to end until you have some type of breakthrough or some type of event where it's going to force you to do that. Looking back, I'm glad that that happened, because I probably would not be here. I probably would not have met all the great people that I've met, working out, playing sports, and probably would not have a friend system like I do now. The number one thing is, especially during exercise, when my heart's beating fast, heart, you're supposed to be doing that. That's what you're doing. You're supplying oxygen. The number two thing healing frequencies. And not only healing frequencies, but to talk to your body. It's sort of a meditation to like sort of close your eyes during the frequencies and let those frequencies hit. That was the number 2 thing. And the number 3 thing is to just face your fears. I say that with caution because I don't want anyone thinking, I have the same exact experience as him, let me go out and do this. Do it to your own discretion. Because for me, I had gone through an event to where it forced me sort of to overcome my fears and to fight it head on. And that's exactly what I did. And I'm so thankful that I did do that, because I'm in a much better place mentally and physically than I've been in a very long time. I guess it's sort of how things lined up for me and what happened in my life. But I do know to overcome any health-induced anxiety, it is an active process. It's not something that you can just sit back and hope that it goes away. It's something that you have to commit yourself to, that you have to work to. It's hard, it's grueling, it's scary. It's something that I wish for no one to ever experience. But if you don't take steps to getting better and to really focus on yourself, you're never going to get better. You're, again, going to be stuck going around and around on the hamster wheel. And that is not something, there's my cat. Especially if you have been active your whole life and health-induced anxiety is ruining that. I mean, you spiral down. I mean, we see it with people who, the same thing, even if they don't have health-induced anxiety, they get a corporate job or whatever they get, and they just work. And they're, not active anymore. They're not eating right. They fall into different categories of depression, of anxiety. And we see that. The most important advice is to take steps towards your health. That includes your physical, mental, and spiritual health. It's a very serious topic. You feel like you can't talk to anybody because no one knows what you're going through. And I thought that back then, but looking back, it's just, you have to want more for yourself. It's a form of self-love at the end of the day. It's a form of loving who you are and loving yourself, to give that to yourself, to claim that back, because our bodies are meant to be active, are meant to do certain things. I forgot to add one more thing. I'm not a big cultist on diet, but what worked for me and what helped me was to really eliminate a lot of plant foods. A lot of them have different defense mechanisms that can really mess with your gut. And me being stressed all those years definitely contributed to some sort of leaky gut. Please, if you're having this kind of anxiety and you're not eating meat, specifically beef products or eggs and cheese, please incorporate those things into your diet. I do believe that it plays a big part and a big role in your mental health, which can help with your health-induced anxiety. Anyways, guys, that's sort of my story on how I overcame my health-induced anxiety. I hope that you found something useful and helpful in this video. If you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing, liking, and hitting that notification bell. See you guys later.